So Christian McCaffrey was not around for half the season. Had to go to Europe to see some specialists, maybe some doctors that he wouldn't be allowed to see in the United States. We don't know. We don't know what's going on there. But he came back, and the offense did not look like what we expected or what we knew it would look like last year. How healthy does he look to you, and how much better do you think he can get? Or is this just sort of the version of CMC that we're going to see for like the next month as he works back into real game shape?
I don't know. What do you think, Croc? I don't think he looks quite 100%. I think he's lacking a little bit of that explosive ability.
Juice, yeah.
The results haven't been great either. And to be honest with you, the results have been worse than they were running the football with Jordan Mason most of the year. Jordan Mason has barely been able to touch the ball since Christian McCaffrey's been back, which is definitely a Kyle Shanahan thing. And, Bobby Turner, running backs coach thing. And I think Bobby Turner's the one really in charge of who goes in and out of the game during the game. But, they might need to make a better plan pregame to have Christian McCaffrey spelled. He's made some amazing catches, and, clearly he's better in the passing game, but he's not quite right. And I think the biggest thing is, even a 90% Christian McCaffrey, you're going to put him out there as much as you can, right? But
it's better than most running backs, for sure.
Right. And the big thing is that 49ers fans, and I think the idea was, Christian McCaffrey's going to come back, and whatever's been kind of weird, he'll Band-Aid all of it and fix it all. And that hasn't happened. And I think that's clear.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. Last game he was, very productive, and he's been productive for the most part, especially through the air. I think that's where they've kind of gotten more of their bang for their buck. The rushing yards, the yards per carry, not super high like you're used to seeing from Christian McCaffrey, still kind of hovering around 4 yards per carry in his last game. But Kyle Shanahan has proven time and time again, if he has Christian McCaffrey healthy, he's going to be the factor back and get the bulk of the carries. So they have two other running backs. Early in the season, a lot of people got a chance to meet Jordan Mason, and we saw how well he ran. And he's earning nicknames, and people are calling him Baby Marshawn Lynch. And he was leading the league in rushing at one point through the first quarter of the season, and then he got banged up. So then the 49ers went with Isaac Guerrero, a rookie, and he's ripping off big runs. Picklock and I have talked about it, and we would like to see Kyle Shanahan figure out a way to utilize all three guys to their skill sets. And Guerrero, he's more of a one-cut explosive back. Jordan Mason, he's more of your power back. And Christian McCaffrey obviously gives you a little bit of everything, but gives you even more in the passing game. Mm-hmm. Is there a way that you can kind of use these three guys to create the ultimate run game? And you'd assume so, but Kyle Shanahan, he's going to go with what he knows, and that's to play one running back and run him as much as possible until that guy gets hurt.
I think the key for Green Bay in this game is they have been a pretty good run defense most of the year, or at least an average. Pretty good by Green Bay standards means like average. And that's been what they are this year. But as a too high defense, they are a bad run defense. And the thing that is different about this 49ers team to me right now is that without Brandon Ayuk, they just do not threaten you vertically the same way that they used to. And I think you're going to see the Packers play more single high. That will help them stop the run. You're essentially daring Brock Purdy. We dare you to beat us deep with Juwan Jennings and Deebo Samuel. And I think George Kittle could be the guy that they try and do that with. Some of those big play action shots. We think of that 2019 game, either one where the 49ers beat the brakes off the Packers. That's Shanahan staple where Kittle runs the cover 3 beater, where he runs the big post corner. And it's just like wide ass open every time. Certainly against Green Bay, against Kevin King, it's I believe who was in coverage on the play that I'm thinking of. And so like I think that's going to be the plan. It's interesting to me that this is a 49ers team that is facing a 49ers-ish defense. Jeff Hafley was the 49ers defensive backs coached with Kyle Shanahan. In fact, it was Kyle Shanahan who brought Haf to Cleveland in the first place, and then brought him to the 49ers because he thought enough about him there. Brian, you mentioned all these teams running the Shanahan offense and the answers that they have. Well, you're talking about Robert Saleh and Jeff Hafley were there for the creation of the Shanahan offense. And so I wonder how that impacts this game. If the Packers cannot allow big plays, I think they will win because this team has had some issues generating those explosives. And we know the value of those explosive plays in scoring touchdowns. It's huge.
Yeah. And you mentioned it there with the downfield stuff. And it did feel like, especially watching Niners Seahawks last week, and at the end of the game, it felt like, where's this big play going to come from? You need Christian McCaffrey to break off some big plays. Deebo has had a lack of those really big catch and runs. The Niners went from like best to worst.
He's not a vertical threat. It's got to be a slant that he takes for 70, right, which we know he can do.
Exactly. And so you're like, where's that big play going to come from? And it kind of doesn't happen. And then you go watch Sunday Night Football right after that. And you've got Burrow throwing bombs and you got Justin Herbert laser shows. And you're like, yeah, that looks completely different. Okay. And the Niners definitely lack an explosive element on offense too right now. And by the way, you mentioned Saleh, Bob Saleh on the other sideline, just doing Shanahan dirty. Does that make you want to fight more? If you go to the bar and you see your ex-girlfriend across, does that make you want to fight more? Or does it make you want to pack it up and go home? I think we're going to find that out on Sunday.
Croc, what kind of, like, is there a little advantage? We heard Matt LaFleur said there was a play that they ran against the Bears that Saleh said, hey, you know that concept, that because he knows the offensive playbook too. That's the cool thing, is he's actually working with the Packers offense on, hey, these are how teams are going to attack you. And so, do you think there's a little bit of inside info that can benefit Green Bay in this game?
Definitely. Knowing tendencies is the biggest thing in football. If you line up and hey, in these situations, these are the plays that they like, right? And then as soon as they snap the ball, you'll kind of see how that's playing out, and you'll know out of those couple options, it's this one because he went this way. And now everybody's playing a step faster. The NFL, and I remember my time getting there, everybody says the NFL is faster. NFL is faster. But not because everybody's fast. The NFL is faster because everybody is a step ahead. And if you're a step behind, then you're just going to get lost in the sauce. But when you know a team inside and out, and you know how they think, how this coach, how he likes to do things, that definitely gives you an advantage. Now, you still have to stop them, right? Kyle Shanahan is going to know Jeff Hafley's defense. Hell, Kyle Shanahan has faced a lot of defenses that he's seen a lot of defenses multiple times, and still they kick his butt, right? So you can know what someone's going to do. You have to have the plan, and then it's on the players to execute. And again, that goes back to what I said in the first segment. The 49ers, when it matters most, have been bad at executing. And if they're going to turn this around and beat Green Bay in Green Bay, the 49ers have to execute better when it matters most. Not in the first half. We scored 20 points and you're up 10 points. Not then, but when Green Bay starts to make that inevitable move towards the 49ers, who's going to make that play to stop the bleeding? 49ers have missed that throughout most of the season.
You can get into that paralyzing psychological loop too, of like, well, he knows that I know that he knows. And then, but he knows that I know that he knows that he knows that I knows. And so it's like one of those things where it's like, are you going to outthink yourself, or are you just going to do the things that you are really good at? It's a fascinating decision-making process that these teams are going to have to endeavor here on Sunday. Do we want to throw out some predictions? What do we got here?
I want to hear your predictions, because my listeners at Locked On 49ers need reasons to be mad at you, Peter, and I know what team you're going to predict is going to win.
I think I've behaved on this show today, Brian. Like,
I think they're going to be mad at us because, at least I know myself, we're coming off as vulnerable to Peter Bukowski. He's a fan favorite of the 49ers. So I don't know how much they're going to like that.
Well, I'll start then, because the lack of confidence is why the 49ers are going to win this game. Getting points, 49ers against the Packers, automatic. Take the points for the 49ers to go to Lambeau and beat the Green Bay Packers, and Niners backs up against the wall. This is a playoff game. Kyle Shanahan's going to come up with something extra too. Robert Saleh, Matt LaFleur on the other side, Jeff Hafley. He's going to come up with something. What is going to be? I don't know. We're going to find out Sunday. But Niners take the points. The NFL is chaos. Just when you think you know what a team is, they flip the switch. Niners just flipping the switch later than we thought this year.
God, I just hate that seems so right. It's just so annoying that seems so right to me. So here's the thing. The Packers have beat the 49ers 4 straight times in the regular season. And 49ers fans are going to go, beat us when it matters. And I'll say, okay. It matters a little bit more now as a regular season game. And I do think it is a big deal for the Packers. They have been very good when they get to see teams a second time. I know they haven't seen the 49ers a second time, but this is a team they did just play in January. And they have been so close all year. In 3 losses, guys, the Packers have gone over 400 yards of offense in all 3, over 6.3 yards per play in all 3. It has been the red zone. To Croc's point, they have been bad in the red zone. If they score in the red zone in this game, they will win. And if they don't, if they kick field goals or they have to go for it on 4th down, they'll lose. And that's a little bit of a cop-out, but that's the truth. And so I think they'll be able to move the ball on this 49ers defense. I think you're going to see them in 2 tight end personnel groupings. You're going to see them in heavy personnel. Even from the gun, we saw that. Hey, split Tucker Kraft out and Ben Sims. Or, hey, let's play in pony personnel, 2 running backs on the field. Get those linebackers involved. It's going to be Devondre Campbell. Better get ready to learn option routes, because they're coming at him And so I like the Packers in this game, but it's going to be a tight one. It's going to be annoying, and it's going to come down, I think, at the end to a field goal, much like the playoff game. And I think Brandon McManus is going to hit it and either clinch the game or win the game for the Packers. Croc, what you got?
I'm going to go with Peacock, man. And again, I feel vulnerable with the 49ers right now. It hasn't been great, but like you said early on, at some point, it's like, okay, we've been waiting. It's got to click. Why not click against the Green Bay Packers? I'm not super confident. You're going on the road. You're playing against Green Bay. And I think Green Bay is kind of looking for that game to where everything is just clicking for them. They haven't had that. We saw them have that in the second half of last season. But for the 49ers right now, can it click? And they got the guys, they got the players, got a little healthier. You get guys like, CMC back. Now you got George Kittle coming back now. Hopefully, and we'll see what happens with Drake Greenlaw. Hopefully he's on the field. But 49ers getting a little healthier. You get Travarius Ward back. I think this is the time for the 49ers to say, you know what? We got to play like who we think we are. And we're going to have to do it on the road. And what better time to do it to make a statement against Peter Bukowski's Green Bay Packers?
And I just got to say, the craziest thing maybe that, Peter, you've ever said is that this game's going to end because of clean special teams play.
Yeah, you're right. It won't. That's impossible. The Packers, remember, Keyshawn Nixon fumbled a kickoff return. He looked like he was going to have a chance to score, fumbled it. The Packers recovered it. But then Anders Carlson missed the field goal, which is the reason why at the end that was a drive to try and win to force overtime instead of win. Tough look. I hope it's not a special teams meltdown for everyone's sake, but because the 49ers think it's special teams too. So it's just one of those like, hey, thanks for being just as crappy at this thing than we are. Let's hope there's no special teams mistakes for everyone's sake.